Hey, Olivia. It's good to see you. Happy belated birthday. Everybody say this with me. It'll make sense in a second. Our world is in pain. Play along again. Let's just do it again. Our world is in pain. Let me show you some statistics that have come up here recently. This is from the CDC. After one of their studies, they found that teen girls who persistently felt sad or hopeless increased dramatically from 2011 to 2021, and it's only gotten worse. So do you know that 60% of teenage girls feel hopeless and sad all the time? Statistic number 2. Did you know that 2/3 of adults have been impacted by addiction either personally or with their family? What that means in this particular study is it shows that we're not talking about coworkers, we're not talking about do you know someone, we're saying that in your family, you're addicted, someone you're close to is addicted, a death has occurred, whatever, 66% of the people, 2/3 of you in this room have that story if I had you raise your hand. Did you know that U.S. suicides have more than doubled since 1970? They are the highest amount that they have ever been. U.S. suicides have topped 50,000 in this past year in the United States alone. People are saying it's better to end my life than to continue in the pain that I'm in. And last but not least, and certainly not least, this study from the American Psychological Association has shown that 1 in 5, so 20% of our youth, ages 19 and below, have a, quote, serious mental health disorder that takes medication and or counseling. This is the most anxious and the most stressed generation that has ever existed on this planet. Say this again with me. Our world is in pain. And here's the deal. My guess is that you probably want to help, right? I mean, some of you don't, right? I see Jed out there. He doesn't care. But the rest of you, right? Because I think of the parable of the prodigal son, right? Parable of the prodigal son, short version, right? There's a dude helpless and in pain, broken, religious person number 1 walks by, says, I don't care, keeps walking. Religious person number 2 says, I see what's going on, but I don't want to get my hands dirty because, religion, walks on by. And then the third one walks by and says, the outsider, and says, okay, I don't know this person, but it's my responsibility to help them with their pain. So he picked them up, took him away, and at his own expense, at the expense of his own life, helped to heal this person. You guys follow me so far? Right? So here's the deal. Our world is in pain, and my guess is most of you don't want to be the religious person that doesn't care about the world that's in pain around you. My guess is that most of us want to be the Good Samaritan that says, I want to do something about it. Or at least you want to be, which is a good place to start. Some of you are like, I don't feel that, but I wish I felt that. And that's even a good start. Maybe you say, God, just help me want to help these people. And that's maybe where you need to be, right? Because we're in this series called Smart Investing. And the name of my title this week, and you'll see where it comes, is What the World Needs from You. So let's say that together. What the world needs from you. Because here's what happens in this passage. What happens is Paul is talking to the Thessalonians, right? And he says, I'm so glad I was there with you guys, and here's the things that I did to help you. And so we're going to take the things that he did to help them to learn how we can take our lives and help the hurting world around us. You guys follow me? All right, so number 1, the world needs you to look to please God. Say that with me. The world needs me to look to please God. All right, so I used this illustration on Easter, but I want to do it again because I'm lazy and you don't remember it anyway. Okay, so I have 4 children, and parents, you know what I'm about to say is true. Non-parents, kids, kids don't know this, but if you're more than the age of like 19, you know this is true. If I, as a parent, lived my life to please my children, right? Here's the guess. Some of them are right here. Here's the guess of what it would look like. They would wake up about 3 o'clock in the afternoon because they went to bed about 3 o'clock in the morning. And when they got up, they would immediately plop themselves in front of 2 screens. They would, number one, be playing video games in this screen, and then they'd be watching a YouTube player playing the same video game in the other screen, and they'd be doing both at the same time. And I would say, are you hungry? And they would say, yes, but I only eat food that ends with the term Eatos. So can you bring me some Cheetos or Doritos or whatever ends in Eatos? And I'd be like, all right, here's that, right? And then they would just be like, I'm going to live in your basement till I'm 43. And we don't even have a basement, but that's where they're at. You follow me? Like that's right. If I live to please my kids, that's what would happen. And here's what we all know. If I, as a parent, lived to please my kids, it would destroy them. It would destroy them. It would destroy any relationship that they got in the future. It would literally destroy their lives. If I lived to please them, it would destroy them. Paul says this in verses 3-6. He says, so we speak not to please who? Men, but rather to please who? God. He examines our hearts. We didn't use flattering speech. We're not greedy. We didn't want your stuff. God's our witness, and we didn't seek glory from who? Either you or other people. Paul's saying this. In order for me to help the church at Thessalonia, right, the Thessalonians, I had to not care if I pleased them. I had to not seek a pat on the back or glory from them. Because if I did that, I would ruin them and me. And think about this. I don't know how you picture Jesus in your mind. But Jesus, he has so many aspects to him. But one of the things, and somebody pointed out to me, I was like, I never thought about that. Sometimes Jesus in the Gospels feels very childlike. Because when you come up to Jesus, people would all the time want Jesus to do something. And he'd say, I only do what my daddy tells me to do. So I'll go ask my daddy, right? Or they want him to say something. And he goes, I only say the words that my daddy tells me to say. It's a very kind of, he says, I've got one person to please. And if I'm going to serve you, I've got to please him. I can't please you. I've got to please him. Because if I please him, I can help you. You follow me so far? So here's the deal. The world needs you to look to please God. So in our lives, fair warning, for the next 2 minutes, I'm going to step on your toes. In our lives, we need to please God, not, for example, please your political party, right? Because I don't know if you know this, but Jesus is not a Republican. Thanks, Mom. She's a Republican, so she can laugh at that, right? Jesus is also not a Democrat. Jesus is not affiliated with your political party. Every time he was here and they tried to get him to get a part of their party, he goes, I'm already got a party, the Kingdom Party. Y'all can align with me, but I'm not going to align with you. Children, teens, some younger adults as well. You need to please God, not your social media feed. One of the biggest stressors on our kids is comparison, because they're comparing their lives against the falseness of Instagram, and it's crushing them. You need to please God, not your corporation. You need to please God. Everybody, hold on. You need to please God, not your family. Jesus says, if anyone comes to me and does not hate their father and mother, wife and kids, brothers and sisters, yes, even their own life, such a person cannot be my disciple. Of course, he's not telling you to hate these people. That doesn't make sense with Jesus at all. What he's saying is, you need to love God so much. You need to revere God so much. You need to look to God you're like, what do you want me to say today? What do you want me to do today? How do you want me to spend my money today? What do you want me to, in comparison, it looks like you love your wife or spouse or kids or whatever, comparison, because if you love him more, you can help them. If you serve him, you can help them. But if your spouse is your God, or if your kids are your God, which they are all the time, then what happens is they can't hold the weight of that, and it'll crush them because they can't hold the weight of your expectations, and it'll crush you because they're going to fail you. The world is in pain, and the world needs you to please God. Number 2, there's 4, so you can just count it down if you're bored. Number 2, the world needs you to give them your life. Say this after me. The world needs me to give them my life. A famous saying from Theodore Roosevelt, I looked it up, says this: people don't care how much you know until they know what? How much you care. I remember, this makes me think of like the 3rd or 4th meeting I had with Bishop. For those of you that are new, what happened here is a black church and a white church came together to make this. And we had the meeting right back there where Don and Jerry are sitting, just right there in this section. And we were sitting back there, this is before Grace Temple had even moved into the place. And we knew that God was kind of wanting them to come over here. And I said to Bishop with his people around him, I said, listen, I'm about to say something as a white dude, and I know you've heard this before, and it has not gone well. I said, I and the elders of Grace Church want to and will, we're here to wash your feet. We're here to serve you. We're here to make you successful. And I promise you, 3 to 6 months, 9 months down the line, you will see this as a success. And Bishop looked back at me and he said, the deacons of Grace Temple are here to serve you. We're here to wash your feet. We're here to make sure that you're successful. And then we began to church just to serve together, and we began to play together, and we loved one another, and we honored one another, and we began to do things together. And out of this came Grace United. And Grace United, I don't know if you know this, but Grace United is bringing healing to the city. Grace United is healing some wounds, tons and different kinds of wounds, that when people look at it and when people join this and people just see it from afar, they're saying, my soul is lifted back to God. And it happened because we gave each other our lives. So Paul says, instead of using one another, verses 7 and 8, we're just going right through the passage. He says, instead, we were gentle among you as a what? Nursing mother. That's going to be important. We cared for you so much that we were pleased to share with you not only the gospel of God, but also our what? Our own lives, because you became dear to us. Let me ask you a question. What does a nursing mother, can y'all give me some examples like out loud so I can hear you? What does a nursing mother do for her child? The nursing mother does what? What? Feed them. What else? Change them, clothe them, what else? Bathe them. So you don't sleep for like 3 years, right? What else? Yeah, make them dresses, absolutely. Caresses. Got it. And some of y'all make them dresses, so that works as well, right? Everything. Here's what, I'll tell you what a mother does, a good mother, a mother that should be the mother, does for their kid. A mother gives their kids their very life. A mother gives their kids their very life. Paul says, if you want to help this hurting world, you're going to have to give them your life. What does that look like? It looks like a good mother. I'm not saying go mother people, because that will not go well. But what it means is this: the people in your life, I'm not talking about people you have no influence over. I'm not saying, hey, like you have people in your circles. When they get sick, you take care of them, right? It takes money and time and effort to go do that, and emotional energy. When they are hurting and they run out of I don't know, whatever, you're like, I'm going to pray for you and I'm going to help you. When they are caught in sin, when they are living and they are burdened and it's just holding on to them, instead of like maybe a brother or sister who prods them, right, and judges them, what you can do is confess your sins to one another and pray for one another so that you may be what? Healed. A mother advocates for their kids. A mother encourages their kids. And a mother always welcomes her kids home. Always welcomes her kids home. Right? So the world's in pain. The world's in pain. Secondly, the world needs you to give them your life. Number 3, the world needs you to be a role model. Everyone say a role model? All right, so here's the deal. Born and raised in Memphis, I am, and which makes me by default a Memphis Grizzlies fan. If you don't know what that is, it's a basketball team. Just making sure. And for those of you who do know, our best player of the Memphis Grizzlies is who? Ja, right? It's Ja Morant. Ja Morant is like, he is so much fun to watch. Like he's like just electric. Like he can be like a 12-on-1. He should be like, and it goes in, right? But Ja has a little gun problem. All right. If you don't know what I mean, so Ja, I don't know, about a year and a half ago, he went to a club. He shouldn't have been at this club. It wasn't a good club. But he went to a club, and he decided to celebrate his funness at the club. He was going to pull a gun out and just start waving it around, right? So that got on camera. And the NBA was like, so you're supposed to be a role model, and we're going to give you like an 8-game suspension. And he's like, cool. Done. I am so sorry. I will never do that again. Served his 8-game suspension. Like 2 days later, driving down the street, another gun in his hand. He's like, hey, everybody, I got another gun, right? And the NBA, and I'm not hating on Ja, right? We're friends. We call each other. I'm like, what's up? He's, pick up. He's like, you're too good. And I'm like, oh, no. So, not true. I don't know if you knew that was not true, but it's just clarify. You're like, my pastor lies. Right, but the NBA, just like any just like any corporation, to be like, those Christians do crazy things. No, like any corporation, the NBA is like, look, you are a role model. Kids look up to you. Kids buy your jerseys, and they're going to do what you're going to do. And we have a message about the NBA of what we want, and you're killing that. So, shape up or ship out. And it says, we just continuing on the next verse. We're just working through the verses. It says, for you remember, Paul says, our labor and hardship, brothers. We're working night and day and night, so he wouldn't burden any of you. You are witnesses, and so is God, of how what? Devoutly, how what? Righteously, and what? Blamelessly we conducted ourselves with you believers. Here's what he's saying. Back up the good news with a good life. Can you say that with me? Back up the good news with a good life. That's good. That we got there together. Okay. Because the world needs you to be a role model. Now, here's what I'm about to do. I'm about to confess for the church. And probably going to confess for several of us in said church. So just give me a moment. You see, by and large, at least in my experience, the church has not understood what this means. Because if you ask the general population, they have done this, their surveys, I'm not making this up, I can back it up with facts. If you ask the general person, when they think of the church, what is it that they think of about the church? Words you'll get back are judgmental, hypocrite. Basically what they'll do is they'll call us a Pharisee. That's what they're going to do. They're going to call us a Pharisee. They're going to say, they say, okay, listen, they want to be role models, so they're holier than thou, and they, just like the Pharisees, they had Jesus' rules, and then they were like, I'm going to have rules to not break those rules, just to make sure I don't break those rules. And I have rules not to break the rules, to not break the rules. And I have rules to not to break the rules, not to break the rules, not to break the rules. And I'm going to keep everybody in line with these rules over here. And then what happens is people look at that, and they are not interested in that because that's terrible. Let's just be honest. That's terrible, right? But we get blamed for being a role model of Pharisees. You follow me so far? Instead, I just propose to you that we should be blamed for the things that Jesus was blamed for. If we are Jesus followers, we should probably get blamed for the things that Jesus got blamed for. So, for example, Jesus got blamed for associating with sinners. How dare he have dinner with those people? How dare he go over to their house? How dare he do that? He got accused of breaking religious rules. How dare he heal somebody on this day? How dare he do certain things on this day in this certain field, right? He got accused of disregarding the traditions, the rules and the rules and the rules and the rules and the rules, and they're like, this is what God wants. He's like, that's not what God wants, and I'm not doing that at all. Like, that's really, really dumb, right? Hold on to your shorts, especially if you're grew up really, really Southern Baptist-y. Jesus was accused of being a drunk and a glutton all the time. You know why? Because he went to parties with drunks and gluttons. Not only was he there, right? But he went to parties. His first miracle, he turned water into wine. But do y'all get that he turned water into wine and he gave that wine to a party of people who were already drunk? They're like, normally you give the good stuff at the beginning, but when people don't know what it is anymore, then you give the bad stuff. But you give the really good stuff at the beginning, right? That's the whole, they were already drunk. He was like, here's some more wine, right? Right? Jesus was accused of not picking a side. People are like, I want you on my team. He's like, I'm not on your team. I'm on his team. I want you on my team. I'm not on your team. I'm on his team, right? A life goal of ours should be to be accused of the things that Jesus was accused of. Everyone say that with me. Be accused of the things that Jesus was accused of. I will tell you, when we know we've made it as a church, is when people look at our church and they say, that church is the church that hangs out with people that I wouldn't hang out with. That church is the church that all these rules that we've had forever, they're like, that doesn't make sense. That church is the church that has awesome parties that all their non-believing friends wants to come to. That's that church. I would love to hear that. I'd be like, we are doing something right. The world needs you to be a role model, but they need you to be a role model of Jesus and not religiosity. Because that's not going to help anybody. Our world is in pain. Our world needs you to be a role model. Last but not least, the world needs you to focus on your one. Say this after me. The world needs me to focus on my one. All right, another kid illustration because I've got kids. I'm sorry, I'll do singles next week. Here's the deal. Maybe, that's a lie. I'll try, I'll think about it, right? I have 4, and what I'm about to say, everybody knows. Everybody knows what I'm about to say. I have 4 kids. They grew up with the same mom, and the Lord has blessed me and my wife with 23, almost 24 years of marriage, never got divorced, never got into a fight where she stabbed me, all that kind of stuff, right? It got close once, but right? Right? And so we had 4 kids, boom, 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 right? Same house, same socioeconomic, same worldview, same all the things, right? And yet they're so what? They're so different. Just an example, neither of them are here. My youngest one was in the first service, so I made fun of him to his face. So at least I can do this on camera. Hey, my oldest boy, who's about to be a senior in college, is so introverted that we knew he needed to go away to college. He needed to go away, but close enough, so we sent him to ATU because Russellville is far enough away to be on thing, but close enough to come home, right? And so we sent him to ATU because if we had not sent him away, he would have no friends. He would sit in his room all day playing video games and watching YouTube and eating things that ends in Eatos, right? And so we send him away, and now that he's a junior, he's made 2 friends. So it's taken him 3 years to make, but we got there, right? My other son, Miles, who was here in the first service, so he got made fun of to his face, he needed to stay home because he's the exact, Miles, the first week he was there, he made 75 friends. Literally the 3rd day, he comes home, school starts on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. He comes home on Thursday. He's like, hey, Miles, what'd you do? He goes, I made plans to go rock climbing with my gym teacher. I was like, oh, of course you did that, right? Of course the extrovert. But you know what he doesn't do? schoolwork, right? So we're like, your butt is staying home so we can hold on, right? Or you'll never get out. He'll be like, passed college in 8 years. What do you call it, doctors? No, you got a bachelor's. Okay, so, right, so we all know. So I love my kids equally, but I treat them differently. Got to, if I'm gonna love them well. You follow me so far? Paul says in his passage, the last 2 verses, as you know, like a what? Father. With his own children, we did 3 things. What? Number 1? Number 2? Number 3? Implored each of you. Now, here's the deal. Comforted, encouraged, we know that. Implored in the Greek, what it means is kick you in the rear end. That's not true, but I wrote that there. I just made that up. Because of father, thank mother-in-law, I got another one. 2, mother-in-law points. A good father, I'm just telling it like it is, a good father needs to kick their kids in the rear end every once in a while. Like kids just need a good kick in the rear end. Like not a DHS, go to DHS kind of kick, but like a normal, like a pat kick, right? Because think about it, right? Don't call DHS on me, right? It's a story, it's never happened in my life. But think about Jesus, because Jesus had this amazing ability. If you ever read the Gospels, Jesus has this amazing ability. He's always in a crowd, almost every time. He's always in a crowd, but he focuses down on a one. He's always in a crowd, and he always sees the one that needs to be healed. He's always in a crowd, but he sees the one in the tree. So he focuses down on the one, right? And then what does he do? He comforts them, and he tells them the truth. This is what you need. This is what you need. And sometimes they do it, sometimes they don't, right? And Jesus is famous for imploring people, right? Sometimes he's flipping tables. Sometimes he's cussing out religious people, right? Jesus had decided that you need a little swift kick in the hiney right now for you to get off, right? So here's the deal. The world needs you to focus on your one. What do I mean by that? It simply means this. I don't work where you work. I don't live where you live. I don't play where you play. I don't have the same hobbies that you do. I don't like the same sports that you do, unless you like football and basketball and golf and all those sports. But the other ones. Your one is not my one. Your one's not my one. I can't reach your one, and you can't reach my one. It's just reality. You can't reach my one. I can't reach your one. You need to reach your one. What does that look like? It looks like being fatherly to them, not in a weird way, not in a motherly and fatherly way, but I'll tell you what this means to me. This has helped me out. Maybe it'll help you out. Maybe it won't. I don't know. I, as an introvert, am not super great in relationships because I'm an introvert, but I have learned lately that something that I can do that works with me is when I think about someone, when I think about them and I think, I love that person. Or if I think about them, say, oh, I know that they've had surgery and I'm going to pray for them. Or I know they're going through a hard time and I'm going to write them. What I've learned to do is, when I think about them, I pray for them and then I text them. I pray for them and I text them. Or if they make my life happy, I do this to my older son all the time. He's not here. But I text my older son probably 2 or 3 times a week. I say, you make my life happy. I just love the snot out of you. Right? And sometimes when people are going through, it's like, man, I know you just had surgery and, you don't want me to talk your ear off, but, if you need anything, let me know. A lot of times, if you will just, God brings people to your mind for a reason, right? And if you could, like a good father, if you could pray for them, right? Because prayer changes things. But also reach out to them and say, hey, I was thinking about you. Hey, I was just let you know you make my life happy. Or, hey, I know you're struggling. If you want to go to coffee, I can be there with you. The world needs you to look to please God. They need you to give them your life. They need you to be a role model. They need to focus on the one.